Well, howdy! Thanks for tuning in to this video where we're going to cover step 5 in creating an Ableton set for a Sunday service. Previously we talked about transposing audio, and we were working with this song Resurrecting. We took it from C sharp, which is its original key, and using this awesome transpose dial and this awesome drop down, we were able to transpose it up to F and preserve complex aspects of the audio. Now we're going to cover another very important detail, how to change the time signature that Ableton is playing back in. And so just a quick explanation of what that even means. If you zoom in, you can see each measure. Let's take a look at measure 482. You see it's broken down into some subdivisions here. This is in 4/4 by default, this default set that opens up immediately when you open Ableton and start building your set has always been in 4/4. From the very beginning all the way over here to the far end, it's in 4/4. And you can see that represented on my grid here. This is zoomed in a little too far, it's showing the ands, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I come up to what's called the scrub bar, which is where my cursor becomes a speaker. So right now it's a pointer, and now it's a speaker, and above that it's a magnifying glass. Where it's a speaker is called the scrub bar, and I can click, and it'll start playing automatically when it's a speaker. If it's a pointer and I click, it doesn't play. If it's a magnifying glass and I click, it doesn't play. Well, if I double click, it zooms out really far. Sorry. But if it's a speaker, it plays, and that's called the scrub bar. And that's what you need to, that's where you need your cursor to be to change the time signature. So you move your cursor into the scrub bar and where you want to make a time signature change, and you right click, and it gives you the option to insert time signature. If I right click where it's not in the scrub bar, it does not give me that option. It gives me other options. But in the scrub bar, it gives me the option to insert time signature change, and I'll do that just for demonstration purposes. I'll change it to 3/4 instead of 4/4. And you can see measure 483 now has 2 ticks in it. 3 quarter notes. So 1, 2, 3, 1 instead of 4. So I'm not going to explain exactly why that's helpful and important, but you should know that if a song says 3/4 right here, you need to change the beginning of it to 3/4 and the end of it back into 4/4, so that your next song, which is likely going to be in 4/4, will play in the right time signature. In this example, I'm editing a song that's not in 3/4. Resurrecting is in 4/4, but it has multiple time signature changes throughout. So what I'm going to do is get rid of my 3/4 that I just put in there for demonstration purposes, delete that. You can do that by right-clicking on, I'll just show you again. 3/4 here was how it looked, and what I did was right-click on that, and I can delete it. I could also just click on it and press delete, and it'll disappear. But in this case, what's happening here, and you'll know this is true of a song if you see multiple click clips. That means that it's changed time signature. And I'll prove it to you here in a second. But if you look over here, you only have one click clip for most songs, because most songs aren't weird elevation songs that change time signatures, but some elevation songs do. So where you see multiple click clips, that should raise an eyebrow. You should say, oh, that's not right. I need to change something here. But let me just prove to you what I'm talking about. So if you count the measures that are represented here in the beginning of the song up until the second click clip, you can see this clip starts on the downbeat of a measure. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and a half measures in this first clip. And I was counting up here from 489 to 500 and a half is the duration of that clip. And then at 500 and a half, it starts the next clip. And what that means is it's got 10 measures of 4/4 and then one measure of 2/4, and then it starts a downbeat of another measure of 4/4 right here at this 500.5. And that's just super confusing. That's how it's represented in Ableton right now, but I need to change it so that 501, the 501st measure in my workspace in my project here, starts at that 4/4 clip. And to do that, I have to edit this clip, this measure, this 500th measure. I have to edit that down. Instead of having 4 beats, it has to have 2 beats. So that's a super confusing explanation. It'll make more sense, I think, when you see it, but let me right click here, and I'm going to change the time signature at measure 500. I'm going to change it to be 2/4. And so now I've got all of the preceding measures after that are going to be in 2/4. You can see the rest of my project here became 2/4 instead of 4/4. So I need to switch it back into 4/4, which is what this song is actually in. It just has a little measure right here of 2/4. So I'm going to, at the 501st measure, change it back into 4/4. And it'll be hard to visualize this, but if I could play you back the audio, it would make more sense. What's happening here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. If you could hear that audio, it would make a lot more sense. But it's in my headphones right now, so you can't hear it. But basically, all you need to know is that's how you do it. So it starts in 4/4. All of the content up until now is in 4/4. I put this little time signature adjustment in for 2/4. It switches into the grid, switches into 2/4, and back into 4/4 where I put my next adjustment. I'm going to try and explain to you why you want to do that, but first I'm going to do it for all the rest of the song. So 509.5 is the downbeat. So at 509, I need to change that into 2/4, and then at 510, I want to switch it back into 4/4. Over here again, 513.5 is the downbeat, so I need to change 513 to be 2/4, and 514 back into 4/4. Keep scrolling. Oh, a couple more here. 530.5 is the downbeat, so I need to change 530 to be 2/4 and 531 to be 4/4. 534.5 is a downbeat, so I need to change that to be 2/4, and 535 needs to be back into 4/4. Okay, oh. So I'm a little choppy here. 584.5 is super annoying, so 2/4, 585, 4/4, 588.5 is a downbeat. I'm going to change that to 2/4. 589 back into 4/4. 590.5, 2/4. You guessed it, 591 is going to be 4/4. Zoom out a little bit. And great, it looks like the rest of the song finishes like normal in 4/4. And to try and quickly explain why that freaking matters, it does matter because of the behavior of Ableton. So if you navigate the cursor to a different place in the song or a different place in the service, in the set, by pressing a MIDI controller button or one of the keyboard buttons that are associated to different locators, for instance. Remember, I'm pressing 1 to get to locator 1 and 2 to get to locator 2. If the Ableton set is stopped, it'll go there instantly. I can just navigate, right? If it's not stopped, if it's playing, watch what happens. If it's playing and I press one of those buttons, it'll wait until it gets to the end of that measure, and then it starts. So watch, I'm going to press 2, and then it goes to 2. It's got to finish the measure that it's on before it jumps to whatever you queued up next. And that's a really helpful feature that makes those transitions and those navigations sound musical and not choppy. It makes it so you don't have to count and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then press a button. You can do at the beginning of a measure, you can press the button and then it'll navigate once it gets to the end of that measure. And so it's just important to have really good practices. Anytime there's a time signature change, that it's represented. If this song were in 3/4 and we were halfway through the song, but I wanted to jump to another section of the song, or I want to skip ahead or skip to the end or something like that, and I press a button, and the song is supposed to be in 3/4, but I didn't do the homework of actually changing the grid to be in 3/4, and it's in 4/4, well, the end of what Ableton thinks is the end of the measure is not going to musically be where I intended my transition and my navigation to be in real time. So might be super confusing. Hopefully it's not a super confusing process. It's actually really simple. You just count the measures, and if you see something fishy with multiple clips, try and reconcile it so that the beginning of every clip is the downbeat of a true measure and not halfway through a measure or something like that. Or if it's in 3/4 or some odd time signature that's not 4/4, you have to change it at the beginning of that song and change it back into 4/4 at the end of that song. So thanks for tuning in. This was step 5 of how to adjust time signatures within your Ableton set. Thanks.